And good evening. We begin tonight with that dangerous and chaotic scene in Oklahoma. Gas leaking from a tanker truck, sending hundreds fleeing for their lives. Video capturing a cloud of toxic and ammonia gas blanketing the cars in this hotel parking lot. People nearby said they couldn't breathe. The chemicals in the gas making them feel like they were choking. Officials say more than 60 people were rushed to the hospital, several of them airlifted, said to be life critical. Outside the hotel, emergency crews, you see them here, wearing gas masks as they help guests evacuate. Authorities telling hundreds in the area to leave their homes, escaping to shelters as the gas spread. These drone shots, take a look at them, show the hotel in the daylight. Officials say conditions there are now safe, but they're encouraging people to air out their homes. It happened in Weatherford, Oklahoma, a city about 70 miles west of Oklahoma City. That's where our Ryan Chandler is tonight, leading us off.
This was the chaotic scene in Weatherford, Oklahoma. A tanker truck spewing massive amounts of toxic gas in a hotel parking lot.
We just had a huge cloud of gas coming out the west side of the Holiday Inn.
As first responders closed in overnight, dozens of patients in respiratory distress were rushed to a nearby hospital. Police say 4 were flown to Oklahoma City, deemed life critical.
I remember screaming, I can't breathe, what is happening, I can't breathe.
Sherry Arcuria was working the front desk when panic broke out.
It filled this hotel lobby and you felt like you had nowhere to run.
Yeah, like I didn't physically see any smoke at that time. I've seen pictures since, and it was like this giant, like a low flow cloud system it kind of looked like, that just covered the entire base of the entire hotel.
Emergency crews in gas masks went door to door, telling hundreds of local residents to evacuate as the plume spread to nearby communities, including 3 senior living facilities.
There was people choking. I mean, I was choking. You know, every breath was like a survival gas. This morning, I feel like I've aged, and I've probably smoked about 17 packs of cigs.
Anhydrous ammonia, used for farm fertilizer, has a suffocating odor and can be deadly, causing respiratory distress, burning skin and eyes.
It's attacking your lungs, the moisture in your lungs, and so it's very, very dangerous.
This morning, local authorities announced the concentration in the air had reduced to acceptable levels, lifting the evacuation order. Tonight, officials urging residents to open doors and windows to air out their homes.
All right, Ryan joins us now live from the scene. Ryan, you're obviously there reporting live because it's safe now. They've given you the all clear, but that tanker in question, it's still on the scene?
It is. That tanker farthest from us, Tom, that's where this leak began almost 24 hours ago. And still, I mean, it took a monumental effort overnight, including a lot of authorities, including even the National Guard, to get this to an area that we could even stand in. Right now, there's a team from Airgas here, and what they're trying to do at this point is vacuum out that tanker to make sure that there's no lingering gas that could still remain harmful. The latest update from authorities is positive, though. Right now, we know that there are 2 people remaining in critical condition. That is down. And fortunately, there have not been any fatalities recorded, but still authorities warning everybody to heed local cautions and continue to air out your homes so that the lingering effects of this gas don't last any longer.
Yeah, pretty bad there. Okay, Ryan, we thank you for that. Now to our other major headline tonight that we're following, that massive trove of documents released by lawmakers in the Jeffrey Epstein case. The family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's most vocal accusers, speaking out after she was revealed as the alleged victim in one of those emails. Here's Hallie Jackson with that new interview.
The family of prominent Jeffrey Epstein accuser Virginia Roberts Giuffre tonight speaking publicly for the first time since the release of never-before-seen Epstein emails.
We have mixed bag of emotions right now. How reckless it is of the administration and the White House to unredact our sister's name.
Giuffre's name was initially redacted in one email released by Democrats, but later identified by Republicans. In the message, Epstein claims Giuffre spent hours at his house with Donald Trump.
Did Virginia ever discuss with you this idea that she spent hours with Donald Trump at any point?
That we're aware of. We've never had that conversation explicitly.
President Trump has never been accused of wrongdoing linked to Epstein, and Giuffre, who died by suicide earlier this year, did not accuse him either, writing in her book he couldn't have been friendlier. The president says he cut ties with Epstein in the early 2000s after Epstein hired away Mar-a-Lago staffers, including Giuffre, to work for him.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong.
Political pressure on the president may ramp up next week when the House votes to try to force the release of the Justice Department's Epstein case files.
We're looking to Congress to do the right thing, and we're hopeful.
The vote moving forward now only after a final signature from the newest member of Congress, Democrat Adelita Grijalva.
What is your expectation for how many Republicans do you think may join Democrats on this?
If they hear from their constituents, every one of them should. Because this is not a partisan issue.
Grijalva, alongside Epstein survivors Liz Stein and Jess Michaels, who attended her swearing in Wednesday.
As survivors, we can't do this alone. We need our allies to do in order for us to do this work.
We need the American people to not stop putting the pressure on. It's only one tiny victory. You know, we can't just ride on that right now.
Okay, Hallie Jackson joins us now live tonight here in Top Story. So, Hallie, for people out there, viewers, and you heard from the families there and some victims that want to see these documents, what does the future look like going from the House to the Senate to the president's desk?
It's a great question, Tom, and I don't think we have the answer to that just yet here. And here's why. This vote is going to happen, according to Speaker Johnson, early next week. And that's when we're going to get our first sense of just how many House Republicans may decide to join with Democrats in this push on this bill to try to force the release of the Epstein files. Obviously, 4 at least have already sided with Democrats. That's why this so-called discharge petition got over the finish line in the first place. Others have publicly come out and said they would support this. And then there's speculation, maybe as many, dozens, who knows? The reason why this matters, right, the number of House Republicans that join onto this, that would then potentially put pressure on the Senate side of things. Obviously, the bill's got to go from the House to the Senate. Very uncertain future on the Senate side, Tom. Does the top Senate Republican decide to put the bill up for a vote? Does he not? The conventional wisdom, I think, suggests that perhaps not. But I will say that in his past comments about this, Senator John Thune has been somewhat noncommittal. He said it is a hypothetical. As of next week, it may no longer be hypothetical, Tom. And then, of course, it would go to the president's desk if it passes both chambers. Very likely to veto, but a lot of question marks from here.
Okay, Hallie Jackson for us. Hallie, thank you. We're also following the return to work after lawmakers struck a deal to end the longest ever government shutdown. Federal workers now set to start receiving their back pay as early as Saturday. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem today announcing a $10,000 reward to every air traffic controller that showed up during the shutdown to work without pay. Those 6% flight reductions across the country imposed by the government are still in effect, though, through the weekend. But as Congress sets the government back in motion, a health scare for one of its key members. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman rushed to the hospital in Pittsburgh after falling while on a walk this morning. We're told it was related to a serious cardiac issue, one that's usually deadly. Garrett Haake joins us now in Washington with the latest. Garrett, you've been following this for us. What do we know?
Well, Tom, in the fall itself, the senator suffered only minor facial injuries, but the cause of the fall is the thing that is so concerning. The senator, his office said, suffered from something called a ventricular fibrillation. It basically means the lower chamber of his heart stopped pumping blood to the rest of his body. That led him to get lightheaded and to fall. This is a serious cardiac condition. The Mayo Clinic says it's the #1 cause of sudden cardiac death. Fetterman has a pacemaker defibrillator implanted in his heart after the stroke he suffered several years ago. In this case, that probably saved his life.
And then, Garrett, this is not the first medical issue Senator Fetterman has had while in office. Do we know when he'll be back to work?
Right. I mean, there was the stroke in 2022 during the campaign that saw him elected to the Senate. After he got here to Washington, he spent weeks in treatment for severe depression. Based on the statement put out by his office, Fetterman is spending the night in the hospital. He'll be monitored there. He'll have his medication tweaked. But there's no reason to think he won't be back when the Senate returns next week, based on what they've publicly disclosed so far.
All right, Garrett Haake for us tonight. Garrett, we thank you for that. The first reported death from a meat allergy caused by a tick bite. A man in New Jersey died hours after eating a hamburger. Researchers say it's tied to a syndrome that's difficult to diagnose. Ann Thompson explains.
This allergy to meat, including beef, lamb, and pork, tonight is linked to its first death. A 47-year-old New Jersey man ate a burger in 2024 and died 4 hours later. 2 weeks earlier, he got sick after eating a steak.
It really illustrates the need for education, because When he had the very severe episode of abdominal pain, they had no sense that that could be anaphylaxis.
University of Virginia's Dr. Thomas Platts Mills identified the death and the allergy behind it. It's called alpha-gal syndrome. It usually starts with a bite from a Lone Star tick that sensitizes a person's immune system to a sugar molecule found in the meat of mammals called alpha-gal. Reactions can include hives, nausea, and life-threatening anaphylaxis. Debbie Nickel lives with alpha-gal.
I would wake up in the middle of the night with this extraordinary stomach pain.
One of 450,000 Americans with the tick-induced meat allergy.
From the time of onset to my diagnosis in 2019, it was probably 11 or 12 years.
And your doctor even went so far as to remove your gallbladder?
That's correct.
Alpha-gal is managed with diet, avoiding meat as well as dairy and lard from those sources, and ticks.
I still go out and hike. I still eat really, really well, even if it means I don't consume beef or pork or dairy. It's a challenging lifestyle, but there are ways to find joy.
Ann Thompson joins us now. Ann, this is a strange one, if you will. A lot of viewers out there are going to have a lot of questions. Are these ticks in a particular area of the country or all over?
They are increasingly all over, Tom. They used to be just in the southeastern portion of the United States. That's where most of the cases of alpha-gal were centered. But now, as the winters have warmed and they last longer, so the ticks don't die, and then the deer who carry these ticks are exploding, their populations are exploding everywhere. We're now seeing alpha-gal cases in the north and west as well.
Wow, okay. Ann Thompson first. Ann, thank you for that. We're also tracking a major storm out west, heavy rain and strong winds from an atmospheric river hammering California. Powerful gusts downing massive trees in San Fran, and drivers across the city forced to navigate flooded streets. Look at that. Let's get right to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, this is going to be a dangerous weekend for a lot of people in Southern California.
Yeah, last night it was in San Francisco area. We had a wind gust up to 80 miles per hour in the mountains. San Francisco itself at the airport had a wind gust to 52. And now we're starting to see the effects heading southwards. And this storm is going to stall. It's going to sit over Southern California right through Saturday. And we're going to get some really heavy rainfall amounts. Heavy enough that we're going to get the mudslides. We're going to get the debris flows, the rock slides. We're going to have all sorts of problems. So you can see now in the radar, it's mostly up in the mountains. As we go throughout tonight into tomorrow, hit and miss areas of rain in Southern California, but then watch what happens on Saturday. A huge plume. All the yellows and reds are downpours, maybe even thunderstorms. And if we get those over some of these burn scars, those areas outside of Los Angeles where the horrific fires were earlier this year, that's where we're going to have the problem. So we have obvious flood watches up for 35 million people in Southern California. And look at these rainfall totals. Yesterday they were about, thinking maybe 3 inches for LA. Now they're thinking around 4.5 inches for Los Angeles. And Tom, if that happens, LA only gets 14 inches of rain a year. That's like a third of their annual rainfall in just the next 2 days alone. There's going to be water rescues, flooding, you name it, a lot of problems.
Yeah, and then, Bill, stay there for a second. Our producers are telling me that these intense winds are quickly spreading. A wildfire happening in Central California as well. Explain how this is happening.
Yeah, this is up in the mountains. This is an area called the Pack Fire, and this is going to be located, if you're familiar with the Mammoth Lakes area. So this is low enough elevations that there's no snow on the ground or anything yet. You can see how dry it kind of looks there. And the winds have been howling anywhere between 30 to 60 miles per hour today. So this fire formed quickly. It rapidly spread. You can see, look at the smoke plume, how fast it's moving there. So you can see how strong those winds are. The rain is now moving in. They can't have aerial assets up, Tom, because it's too dangerous to fly in these winds and with the storm coming in. But the rain will put this fire out in the next couple of days. But still dangerous this evening. There are evacuations taking place.
Yeah, and surprised those drivers are going right through that smoke, too, Bill. Pretty wild. Okay, we're back in a moment with the new fleet of driverless cars now hitting the highway. But can they be trusted in the fast lane? What Waymo and riders are saying. Plus, Sean Diddy Combs could be locked up for longer than we thought. The new questions tonight over why his prison sentence was just changed. And a big reveal turning out to be a big flop. We'll show you the Russian robot that face planted just moments after walking out on stage. That's ahead on Top Story. We're back now with a headline out of the tech world. Self-driving car company Waymo taking its robo-taxis to the highway for the first time ever. And NBC Bay Area senior investigative reporter Bagad Shaban got to go along for an early ride.
Cruising more than 60 miles an hour on the interstate is pretty middle-of-the-road ordinary, unless you're doing it without a driver.
And we are officially on the freeway.
We got a first look at life in the fast lane after Waymo invited us to preview its expanding service. that now, for the first time, includes highways.
I think the biggest impression that you're left with is that this doesn't feel all that different. It's just like every other time I've been on the highway, except this time there isn't a driver.
Waymo rolled out its first driverless ride 10 years ago in Texas. Today, the company shuttles paying passengers in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Austin, selling hundreds of thousands of rides each week. But the cars have steered clear of all interstates and our local airports. Until now, travelers flying in and out of Silicon Valley by way of the San Jose Mineta International Airport will now be able to get picked up or dropped off by a driverless car. And in a sign of the times, autonomous vehicles now have their own waiting area at the airport. At 76, Paul Cook never imagined he and his wife Eileen would see robots competing with airport taxis.
Do you think you'd be game for that kind of ride?
I probably would try it. I'm not sure about you. Would you do it? Yeah, you probably would.
Yeah, I'd try it.
I'd try it.
But not everyone is on board.
I wouldn't feel safe.
Heather Q2 wants a human driving her home, not a machine.
I wouldn't trust a pre-programmed plane, so I'm kind of cool with people driving a car and knowing that at least somebody's brain is going behind it.
Traffic-related crashes with a driver behind the wheel remain one of the leading causes of death in America, claiming more than 39,000 lives last year. Waymo's driverless cars haven't been blamed for a single death, but federal transportation records show Waymo's fleet has been involved in more than 80 injury-causing crashes. Waymo has long maintained the vast majority of its accidents were caused by other drivers on the road, and says it stands by its safety record, which it argues outperforms humans. Waymo's driverless cars have already logged more than 100 million miles on public streets, as it now takes to freeways.
How complicated a feat is this?
Oh, that's huge.
Engineer Michael Kokendorfer has been studying autonomous vehicle technology for more than a decade and heads the Intelligent Systems Laboratory at Stanford.
From the perspective of a robot, how does navigating city streets compare to highway driving?
Yeah, so on city streets, you can have a child who jumps out from behind a vehicle. You have animals, you have many unexpected events. On freeways, it's much more predictable, but of course you're going at higher speeds. There's more of a risk of a fatal accident.
So even though it might be easier to know what to expect on a highway, the higher speeds could very well bring bigger risks.
That's right. That's right.
Deploying cars onto the freeway allows Waymo to connect what were smaller service areas, transforming Northern California into one of the company's largest hubs. 260 square miles, stretching from San Francisco to San Jose.
Could this be a sign of what's to come in other parts of the country?
I hope so. That's the next natural evolution of this technology.
Waymo is already in talks to hit the road at both the San Francisco and Oakland airports, and the company's expansion plans don't show any signs of slowing down. Bigat Shaban, NBC News, San Francisco.
We thank Bagat for that one. Coming up, chaos on the yellow carpet. A man running up and grabbing Ariana Grande at the new Wicked premiere. How her co-star, Cynthia Erivo, jumped in to protect her. And Apple officially launching its new digital ID. Will break down how it works and how it could help you get through airports a little easier. But first, top stories, top moment, and this is a magical one, especially for the Harry Potter fans out there. Actor Tom Felton, the original Draco Malfoy, making his Broadway debut in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, reprising his famous role, and the crowd went wild when he finally took the stage. Take a look.
I know you don't like him, but he's all I need. I need a favor.
Felton is the first actor from the film to join the cast of the play. You can catch his performance from now until May of 2026. All right, stay with us. More news on the way. We're back now with Top Stories News Feed. A key hearing today over the Justice Department's cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Lawyers for both of them asking a judge to throw out the cases, arguing the interim U.S. attorney who secured the indictments was illegally put in the role. The DOJ denies that claim. The judge says she plans to issue a decision by Thanksgiving. And more than 1,000 unionized Starbucks workers are now on strike. The walkout's happening at 65 stores today, a small fraction of the 10,000 Starbucks nationwide. They're intended to disrupt the coffee chain's annual Red Cup Day, which is usually one of its busiest days of the year. Workers say they want higher pay and better hours. Organizers warning more stores are prepared to join the strike if Starbucks doesn't reach a deal with the union. Okay, now while police chased in New Mexico after a pig got loose on the highway, look at this. You can see the officers sprinting after that hog. This is pretty fast as it ran through traffic. This happened yesterday in Albuquerque. They finally managed to trap it and carry it to their cruiser. Well, you could hear him squeal earlier. Police saying the, quote, porky perpetrator is now being held at an animal shelter. We think he's domesticated and somebody's pet, so hopefully they find him. Next tonight, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing more time behind bars. His release date pushed back to June of 2028 instead of May of that same year. The news coming after reports of Combs drinking in prison, something he denies, after he was accepted into a rehab program in prison that could have reduced his sentence by up to a year. He's also been accused of making a prohibited three-way phone call from prison. Here to make sense of it all, NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas and defense attorney and friend to Top Story, Sarah Azari. Guys, thanks so much for being here, both of you. So, Chloe, I'm going to start with you. I'm being told you spoke to Combs' rep earlier. What did you learn about this issue?
Sure. So, Combs' representative, Judah Engelmeyer, telling me by phone earlier today, Tom, that, yes, a three-way call was made between one of Combs' lawyers, who did bring in another person on that call with Combs while he has been at Fort Dix, but that there was nothing improper about it. But again, that is not something that you were supposed to do at all. So those lawyers should have known better. As for drinking, he doubled down and said that Combs was not drinking and that, in fact, he's been admitted into this very specialized rehab program that Fort Dix offers. Is actually going to potentially lower his sentence. Yeah. He could be released earlier because of that. So they're saying he's done nothing wrong and that any reports that he has been drinking is completely not true.
Sarah, you know, after his trial, a lot of people said he got a legal victory. It looked like he was going to be on his way out in a couple of years. How far back does this set him now?
Well, we don't know yet, Tom, because you still have due process rights in prison, right? So there's going to be an incident report if he, in fact, was drinking or there's an allegation. Then he's going to go to hearing. And if he's found guilty of it, then there's going to be sanctions. The sanctions could be that he could essentially be thrown in the hole, the SHU, the special housing unit. He could lose his privileges, and he could lose at least a minimum of 40 days of time credits, which is big. And I want to say this. Drinking in a BOP facility is as serious as committing murder in a BOP facility.
Is it really?
Yeah. As of 2020, the BOP changed the rules and reclassified drinking as one of the most severe charges in custody. So this is really serious if he actually did it.
You know, Chloe, you had that great report on with that prison sort of consultant, Craig Rothfeld. I know you talked to him again. What did he tell you about this?
So again, the thing is that we don't know if Combs has been cited yet. It would be incredibly serious if he was drinking. And so Craig Rothfeld has said that, yes, they do take this very seriously, but also pointed to the fact that Combs, during his sentencing, which I attended, as we know, I covered the duration of Combs' criminal trial over the summer, he was very vocal about the fact that he had become sober while at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. He talked about how much this had changed his life and how he wanted to go and do better for his family, do better for society, and that he's actually been teaching these business classes while he was at MDC and wanted to continue to teach those at Fort Dix. So the idea that he would get into this prison, Tom, that has this rehabilitation program, and then he would go and drink hooch, this like homemade
yeah, did the prison consultant talk to you about how do they make this stuff?
So this is with, you might know, it's with sugar and I think Fanta, like a soda, and
wait, why would Sarah, why would you know, Sarah?
Well,
you've been out there,
Yeah,
you out there making some moonshine?
I was not behind bars drinking.
But this is something that is pretty common, Tom. But the idea that he would drink behind bars, especially while he's potentially seeking a pardon from President Trump, who
doesn't like drinking. But, you know, here's the thing, though. he was white knuckling. I mean, he intended not to drink. He intended to do better, but he never was in a program. This is his first shot at actually getting rehabilitation.
Well, Sarah, I wanted to ask you about that because it looks like there's almost more eyes on him now post-trial. He's now gotten into trouble twice. I know he'll have his due process, but you have the drinking allegations, you have the three-way call allegations. I mean, this is not good for somebody who wants to get out of prison sometime soon.
It's not at all, but I also think, I wonder, Tom, how much he's thinking, I've got 2 pending appeals, my conviction and my sentence. He thinks he has a really good shot
of
at
just getting out.
Of just getting out, and so this is all a wash. I mean, I don't know to what extent this is sort of this callous sort of thinking on his part, or he just is an addict.
And you were telling me today he's writing a book.
And he's writing a book, which could cause him more problems under the Son of Sam law in New York. If he's monetizing on his crime.
This is all absolutely terrible if true. I mean, Combs made such a big deal about wanting to go to Fort Dix.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out sooner than the 50 months in prison, Tom. The idea that he would be violating rules left and right within 2 weeks of getting there is really unfathomable after, again, listening to him cry and sob in front of the judge just recently saying, I want to do good, I'm sober, and I want to be released to go home to my family. So again, and like you said, President Trump, he doesn't like drinkers, okay? He doesn't drink himself. His brother was an alcoholic, and so he has very strong opinions about that. He's talked about it. And if Diddy's seeking a pardon from President Trump before the new year, this is not a good look.
All right, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. We thank you both for being here. Great segment. We appreciate it. Now to our series, The Cost of Denial, where we investigate the challenges so many Americans face with their insurance providers. Tonight, our look at a one-of-a-kind insurance that has drastically raised prices. Why? They never expected that many people would actually use the benefits. Aaron McLaughlin explains.
Has this consumed your life?
It really has.
From his dining room table in Newington, Connecticut, David Schwartzer is battling a multi-billion-dollar section of the insurance industry.
We are budgeting more today for long-term care than we do for property tax, homeowners insurance, and monthly utilities combined.
The retired insurance executive fighting, he says, to protect his family.
If something happens to both of us and we don't have long-term care insurance, these are the people that are going to have to figure it out.
He tracks policy rate increases, holds seminars to educate seniors, and pushes state lawmakers to change the long-term care insurance industry. Because of a series of rate increases, David says he and his wife Judy can barely hold on to their policies, meant to provide coverage for things like nursing homes or in-home personal care when needed.
It's all at a time when we're getting older and we're thinking this could happen.
Back in 2004, the couple purchased their policies from Genworth, one of the nation's largest providers, hoping it would help them financially if they needed care in old age. Back then, each plan cost just over $1,100 annually. Now in their 70s, David and Judy are each paying more than $4,600 per year for long-term care premiums. That's almost a 300% increase.
It was probably a case of bait and switch. We're offering you a really cheap policy, and then we're going to start giving you these rate increases, and we're going to see how far can we push you before you cry uncle and say, I give up, I can't afford it anymore.
In a statement, Genworth told NBC News the insurer has suffered significant losses on long-term care policies, pointing to faulty assumptions it made in the past, saying its rate increases are necessary to make sure every policyholder receives meaningful long-term care benefits, adding it offers alternatives, including reducing certain benefits to lower monthly premiums.
This is absolutely a crisis in terms of being able to offer the coverage to people that they need.
Andrew Mays is the Connecticut Insurance Commissioner. His office is responsible for approving rate increases.
We have to ensure the companies remain solvent. The only thing worse than having to pay an increased premium is paying a premium for a policy that can't deliver.
From the Connecticut Insurance Department database, NBC News counted 38 separate rate hike requests made by Genworth for its long-term care policies since 2011. Half of those requests were in excess of 50%. The majority were partially granted by Mays' department. Genworth is just one of many insurers requesting vast increases nationwide. How did so many major insurers misjudge this market so badly?
That is a good question. I think they made assumptions based on the data that they had at the time.
Who pays for those mistakes? The companies or the consumers?
Sadly, it is often both.
David and Judy have already paid a price and are now bracing for the next potential rate increase.
If we walk away from this policy, we've taken $100,000 and just wasted it.
Aaron McLaughlin joins us now in studio. So, Aaron, for our viewers out there who are going to have questions on this, drill down on this one. Why do these premiums shoot up so much?
Well, it has a lot to do with what's known in insurance as a lapse rate. When these insurers, according to Mays, issued these policies, sold these policies, they made a big assumption regarding the number of policyholders who'd ultimately drop or let their policies lapse. That number didn't hold. It was way off the mark. People held on to their policies. And so now these insurers, according to Mays, are trying to push through these premium hikes right at a time when people like David and Judy are looking down the road and saying, you know, we're going to need this, we might need this, and we need it the most.
All right, Aaron, we thank you for telling us about this one. Now, to an update on the NBC News exclusive we brought you earlier this week, an Army doctor at Fort Hood under criminal investigation by the Army after an allegation that he was secretly filming women during their medical exams. Our senior national security correspondent, Courtney Kuby, spoke exclusively to the commander of the hospital where the alleged misconduct happened.
Army investigators continue to hear from patients of Dr. Blaine McGraw, an obstetrician and gynecologist at Darnell Army Medical Center at Fort Hood, now under criminal investigation for allegedly secretly filming women during their medical appointments. In an exclusive interview with NBC News, the commander of Darnell Hospital said they're trying to reach every one of his patients.
How many patients is that you've reached out to?
So we have reached out to over 1,400 patients.
And this is the letter that you sent them?
Yes, ma'am.
The letter informing them of the investigation, but not providing details about the allegations. Dr. Jack says at least 85 women have responded to the letter, although it's not clear all were victims of misconduct. Colonel Jacks, who took command of the hospital at Fort Hood this summer, said he suspended McGraw immediately when the allegations surfaced in October, and he was not aware of any prior complaints about the doctor.
As the commander of this organization, I can tell you, I'm devastated for these women, for their families that have had to go through this.
We spoke with another woman who found out from Army investigators that her breast exam was allegedly filmed by Dr. McGraw as she laid in the ICU with complications from childbirth and while she was still groggy and hazy from the medication. I was in really bad medical shape, and that's when he took this opportunity, she told us. The woman, who we'll call Erin to protect her privacy, said the investigators showed her a photo of herself in the ICU that was taken during Dr. McGraw's breast exam. Now, news of this investigation leaving some of his more than 1,400 women who have been his patients at Fort Hood wondering if they too were filmed during their most vulnerable moments or taken advantage of in other ways. Like this woman.
Has anyone told you that he may have also taken photographs or video of you?
No, and that's what I'm afraid of. He might have pictures of me, and I don't even know.
And this woman, who says Dr. McGraw's behavior and comments made her uncomfortable, but she didn't think anyone would listen to her complaints.
Do you know if he ever photographed you?
I don't know. I do know he had his phone in the room a couple of times. So I imagine very flirty, constantly saying I was pretty and stuff.
In a statement to NBC News, Dr. McGraw's attorney says he has been fully cooperative and accused Army investigators of sharing inaccurate and exaggerated information. Dr. Jack says his goal is to make sure this never happens again.
I want these patients who may have been affected by this to understand from me as the commander that we will do everything we can to rebuild that trust and continue to expand that trust that they have with us.
Courtney Kuby joins us now, fresh off that interview. Courtney, one lawsuit has already been filed by one of Dr. McGraw's patients. Can you bring us up to speed on that one?
Yeah, that's right. So Jane Doe filed the first lawsuit against Dr. Blaine McGraw. In her case, she was called in by Army investigators on the same day that there was some sort of a whistleblower who complained about Dr. McGraw. The next day when she went in, the Army investigators showed her a photograph that she said she immediately identified as herself. Now, we have spoken with a number of other patients of Dr. McGraw's. Tom, every day, more and more women are coming forward asking for information about this investigation and asking if in fact, maybe he took photos of them. The lawsuit that was filed on Monday, it says that there will likely be a federal claim that will be filed in the near future as well, Tom.
Okay, Courtney Kuby first. Courtney, thank you. Still ahead tonight, top story, the terrifying scene in South Korea after a truck barreled through an outdoor market. What we're learning tonight about that deadly crash. Plus, the BBC responding to President Trump's threat to sue for $1 billion over an edited clip of his January 6th speech. What the broadcaster is saying. That's next. We're back now with an update from Apple that could dramatically change the stress of air travel. The tech company unveiling its new digital ID. Have you heard about this? It allows users to upload their passport info and create a digital ID card on their iPhone or Apple Watch. Apple says you can use the digital ID at 250 airports across the country, including LAX, JFK, Miami, and more. But there is a catch. Right now, you can only use it to travel within the U.S. To help us understand it all, I want to bring in our good friend, NBC business and data correspondent Brian Chung. So walk us through how this works, and can anyone do this?
Yeah, Tom, in theory, if you have an iPhone on the latest operating system, iOS 26, then in theory, you could get to the airport without your passport or your ID card and still skate through. Now, there are a few caveats to this, as you point out. First, you cannot use this if you're traveling outside of the United States. This is not a way for you to skip the passport if you're going outside of the United States. If you're going from LA to New York, however, you can go onto your phone in the same app where you have all your Apple ID cards. Like, let's say, for example, you hooked up a bank account to it.
Yeah.
Well, now you can add what they call a digital ID. All you have to do is get your passport. You do have to have it physically in front of you. You take a photo of the passport. You then scan. There's a chip in the back of your passport. If you have the newest one, you put your phone over that, and then you take a few photos of your face. There's even a few different gestures you have to show. You have to smile in one. You have to close your eyes in another. But after that, you add your passport to your phone, and then you could use that at the TSA-approved airports. Again, it's 250 of them, so it's a lot of them, not all of them. But in theory, you'll be able to.
This is up and running now?
This is up and running.
Yeah, I just traveled today. I just went through 2 airports today. I didn't notice the signs. Is it like an Apple ID sign, or is it just when you get to TSA, when you present this?
There's not going to be a dedicated Apple ID line, but there is a digital ID line at some TSA check-ins where you'll be able to go through. I think Delta, for example, some airlines. And
digital
apps,
ID, I have seen that
ID,
one. Okay,
right?
so that's it.
It'll be the same type of system. I want to point out that when it comes to this app, there is some concerns about security, of course.
Like if you get your phone taken.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like, well, wait, what if someone steals my phone? Now they're also going to have my passport information. But remember, if you have a credit card hooked up to your wallet, you do have to, once you double click it, it uses Face ID. It actually scans your face to make sure it's you when you're using it. It's going to be the same situation with this passport.
So I know you're not an expert on this. Maybe Tom Costello, I should be asking
okay,
this.
what is this?
But what is the purpose then of the Real ID if you can use this?
Yeah.
Right? If you can still use a valid driver's license to drive, and you can use this to fly, why do we need a Real ID?
I mean, this is just an extra layer. I think that when you consider that to get a passport, you have to go through all the hoops that you would otherwise go through to get a Real ID anyway. The government is still basically making sure that you are a verified traveler, which I think is the MO of the Real ID program in the first place. Again, the difference here is that now instead of just having that passport in a physical copy, you can have it on your phone as well.
But
I
mean,
seeing now I have a Dunkin'
app. Yeah, now you have a Dunkin' app there. But just to be clear, you don't need the Real ID if you have this thing on Apple. If you're traveling around the country.
That's right. Although I will say, despite this technology coming out, I would still advise people to carry their Real ID on them as well. I do think that the one benefit of this is that currently, Tom, a lot of people who don't have Real IDs, they're using their passports as Real IDs at the airport. If you're flying domestically, it seems a little silly to have that big thing that you can't really fit into your pocket.
We're not going to really judge people that do that.
We're not going to judge people that do that. But again, now you do have the option of having it.
Of just having your phone. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Brian. Appreciate that. Now to top stories, Global Watch, starting with the BBC responding to President Trump's threat to sue the broadcaster for $1 billion over an edited clip on his January 6th speech. The BBC says it sent a letter to the White House apologizing for the edit and promising not to air it again. But the broadcaster added it strongly disagrees with the claim that President Trump was defamed. All right. Terrifying video out of South Korea. Look at this, showing the moment a truck plowed into an outdoor market, killing 2 people. You see the vehicle ramming into the vendor as it tore through the shopping center near Seoul. The local government says at least 18 people were hurt, the driver claiming his truck malfunctioned. But officials say they are still investigating. And a major erosion from a typhoon in Vietnam revealing a centuries-old shipwreck. The storm exposing the frame of this sunken ship. Look at this. And there's a dog on it. Experts believe that it was built between the 14th and 16th centuries. The wreck was first discovered in 2023, but it got buried again by sand and rough seas. Now crews are working to study and preserve the vessel. All right. When we come back, have you seen this viral TikTok of a man reviewing a resume at a Jonas Brothers concert? We tracked down the guy who that resume belonged to. He joins us next. Back now with what was meant to be a cutting-edge showcase of a humanoid robot, but the big debut literally fell flat. NBC's Raph Sanchez picks it up from there.
It was one small step for a robot, followed by one giant faceplant. The much-hyped Moscow debut of Idol, billed as Russia's first AI-powered humanoid robot, emerging to the theme song from Rocky. It managed a small wave before tumbling over. Organizers trying to pull a black curtain over the toppled Tin Man before dragging it off stage and out of sight. The developer responding with a statement by the banged-up robot.
What is truly frightening is not to fall, but not to get back up. With love.
A theme for humanoid robots across the globe. This match in China highlighting their agility and their humility. The first human versus robot marathon in April had no small amount of slip-ups. While there have been stumbles, the industry at large making leaps and bounds. China's new Iron robot had to be cut open at a tech demo to prove it wasn't a person in a costume. Meanwhile, Tesla's Optimus robot dancing with Elon Musk, but still needing a person behind the wheel.
I see a red apple on a plate.
OpenAI's Figure 03 robot dazzling with AI integration.
And I think that has a lot to do with the advent of AI, generative AI, because they're able to train them so much faster than they ever did before.
AI helping train at-home robot helpers, like Neo, now available for pre-order, promising to bring us a little closer to that Jetsons lifestyle, though at a hefty price and with some limits.
These ads for the Neo Beta. I mean, they're literally advertising this $20,000 robot to consumers who will, by the way, be disappointed. Somebody at the office has to make sure they can look through its eyes and do these tasks. Leaving aside all that, do you know how slow these things are?
But an old favorite, Atlas from Boston Dynamics, still reigns supreme.
The gold standard for a humanoid robot.
Atlas's dancing antics capturing hearts across the internet, with stumbles of his own. Experts say humanoid robots will help out at factories before they help us at home, but we're still a ways from that happening.
2035, 2040, that's when things really, really get interesting.
For now, Idle's stumble reminding us even robots can't escape growing pains. Raf Sanchez, NBC News.
All right, we thank Raf for that one. That was funny. Finally tonight, what would you do if your resume went viral? One man is now the most sought-after job applicant thanks to a TikTok taken at a Jonas Brothers concert that has been viewed 45 million times. Here it is. I know this is such a weird story. While most fans were screaming and singing along, you know, it's the Jonas Brothers, who doesn't love them, the man was scrolling through a resume in the middle of a crowd. Sleuths online making out the name on the resume and rooting for him to get the job. And our producers here were able to track him down. And tonight, you guessed it, he's here in studio. Scott Kelly is his name. He joins us now on set. Scott, there is a backstory to the backstory to the backstory. You're here tonight. Thank you. This has got to be weird for you. Take us to the concert. Why was this guy looking at your resume?
So, fun fact, I actually know the guy who was looking at the resume from previous life.
Okay.
We connected earlier this week. We were in the same infantry battalion in the U.S. Army together back in 2014.
Okay.
Later went on to do different stuff in the military. Now we're both out. But he actually has a company in the Buffalo area. Yeah. They're always looking to hire veteran talent. Somebody had floated him my resume, and he was at the Jonas Brothers concert that his wife dragged him to. And so he was checking his work email during the concert.
And that's how it popped up. When did you realize that you had gone viral, or how did you find out about this?
So Monday, I was sitting in class for my MBA program, and a buddy of mine hit me up and said, "Hey, dude, you're famous on TikTok now." I'm like, I don't even have a TikTok. What are you talking about? He sends me a blurry image of a screenshot. It's like, "Hey, is your resume?" I'm like, "No, it's not my resume." Well, the next 24 hours, every messaging platform I'm on just started exploding, and I actually downloaded TikTok, went back, looked at the original video in its entirety, and realized, yeah, that's my resume. That's me.
How many people were contacting you?
A couple hundred a day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a week.
And so, but the interesting part about this is you're not currently looking for a job, right?
No, I actually wasn't applying for a job. I'm not sure what agency floated my resume out there and sent it to my buddy. I'm glad they did because we've reconnected, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to be meeting up later. But yeah, completely unexpected.
And so what has happened from this, right? Because this is actually kind of funny. We know that not only did Nick and Kevin Jonas comment on the video, right? But dozens of brands apparently commented as well on this as well. Here are the Jonas Brothers commenting on this. What has it been like to get this kind of response? And again, I mean, like the entire internet talking about you at one point.
Well, it's been completely remarkable because it's been so positive.
Yeah.
And generally when somebody is jumping on something on the internet, it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So the amount of, care, compassion, love, support that I've gotten from complete strangers who are vouching for me, even without knowing me, it actually makes me feel very positive about what the potential future for this country holds.
Yeah.
Because in a time when a lot of folks are struggling with a lot of things, the fact that so many strangers would reach out to help a complete stranger is pretty remarkable.
It is a beautiful thing, and usually I got to tell you, we do a lot of stories like this. And when the producers were first pitching this, I thought it was something like the Coldplay concert, and it was something horrible had popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, it was not this. You have a podcast that you do. Plug it real quick. What's it called?
Yep, it's called At the Water's Edge.
At the Water's Edge. You hope to do that professionally one day, maybe get paid for it, maybe it gets picked up.
We'd love some of these companies who are making all these wonderful comments to become sponsors.
Yeah, so people are reaching out to you. Are people offering you jobs?
I've gotten a few cold calls from recruiters, definitely more than the average on LinkedIn. Everything's been blowing up. But I am gainfully employed and happy with what I'm currently doing. But it's been...
With your employer, did they explain to them, like, listen, I'm not looking for a job?
Yeah, no, so everything was blowing up on Tuesday, and that's when I found out this was a real thing. So, yeah, Wednesday morning, had to go to the office and ask to talk to my boss real quick.
Did you explain to them what had happened?
Yeah, I walked them through the whole thing and let them know that this was out there. And
what did they think?
They thought it was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does your friend like the Jonas Brothers, or was he just not into it? I mean, what did he tell you when he did that?
So his wife's friends had extra tickets, and so they brought him and his wife to the concert.
Yeah.
And his wife was all about it, and he was checking work email. So read into that what you want.
Scott Kelly, hopefully something really cool. I mean, I know this has happened, but hopefully something really great happens to you as well for this. I think it happened for a reason. It is great to meet you. Thank you for being here and telling your story. We thank you for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in New York on this Thursday night. Stay right there. Don't forget, tomorrow is Friday night and binge-worthy. More news on the way right here on News Now. Stay right there. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.